The soft, melodious music in the opulent ballroom of the Emperor's Grand Hotel suddenly sounded strangely jarring. The red wine in my hand shimmered, reflecting my own ashen face. Today was my engagement party with Ethan Song, the man I had loved for 7 years. From the most naive days of my youth until we built our careers together. 7 years enough time for a child to start first grade, and enough time for me to see through a person's true nature. Just 30 minutes ago, in the VIP lounge, I had pushed open the door and walked into a scene I would likely never forget. Ethan Song, my soon-to-be fiancé, was tightly embracing Hailey Mo, my half-sister and closest friend. Their clothes were disheveled, hurried kisses fell on her neck, and Lily's whisper pierced my heart like a dagger. "Ethan, when will you tell her the truth? I don't want to be your secret lover anymore." Ethan sighed, his tone a mix of pity and cruelty. "Be good, Lily. You know the company is at a crucial stage. Hailey holds 20% of the shares, which is the key for me to take over the entire Mo Group. Wait until I get everything from her, then I'll immediately divorce her and give you a proper status. You're the one I truly love, you know that." I stood there, frozen. So 7 years of love, 3 years of shared hardships, it was all just a meticulously calculated game. I was merely a pawn, a stepping stone for him to climb to the peak of success. The shares my mother left me, my only asset, had become bait for a wolf in sheep's clothing. I didn't cry, nor did I cause a scene. I simply stepped back silently, closing the heavy wooden door, separating the false world inside from the harsh reality outside. My heart felt squeezed, but my mind was chillingly clear. Revenge? I must have revenge, but not by exposing them in disgrace. That would be too easy for them. I wanted to take away what Ethan Song craved most, the career and power he was using me to achieve. I returned to the ballroom, a perfect smile still on my lips. My eyes scanned the crowd, searching for an escape, a glimmer of hope. And then I saw him. Asher Chi, the man sitting at the most exclusive VIP table, isolated from the surrounding noise. He was the chairman of the Chi Group, a powerful business empire that even Ethan Song had to tread carefully around. They said he was cold, ruthless, indifferent to women, a solitary king on his throne. His eyes were as deep as the night sea, his perfectly tailored suit accentuating his tall physique and regal aura. He and Ethan Song were sworn rivals in the business world. A crazy thought flashed through my mind, a thought that could either ruin me or save me. Without a moment's hesitation, I lifted my dress and walked straight towards Asher Chi. All eyes turned to me, including Ethan Song and Hailey Mo, who had just reappeared, their clothes straightened. They watched me with probing gazes, probably wondering what I intended to do. I stood before Asher Chi, ignoring the whispers around me. I took a deep breath, my voice clear, without a hint of tremor. "Mr. Chi, hello, I am Hailey Mo." He raised an eyebrow slightly, his long, narrow phoenix eyes sweeping over me, revealing no emotion. "I know, Mr. Chi," I continued, my heart pounding like a drum. "Do you need a wife?" The entire ballroom fell silent, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Ethan Song was stunned, his face drained of color. Hailey Mo's mouth hung open in shock. Asher Chi maintained his composed expression, but in the depths of his eyes, a flicker of light seemed to spark and then vanish. He didn't answer immediately, only tapped his slender fingers lightly on the table, each beat tightening my nerves like a stretched string. I bit my lip and continued with my gamble, a contract marriage. "I will be a dutiful wife, not interfering in your private life, helping you with social engagements and family pressure. In return, I only need one thing, the title of Mrs. Chi. The term is 1 year. After 1 year, we go our separate ways, owing nothing to each other." I knew it was an absurd offer. A man like Asher Chi didn't lack women, but I was betting on his rivalry with Ethan Song and perhaps his aversion to troublesome relationships. A contract wife, clean, neat, might not be a bad choice. Ethan Song finally regained his composure. He lunged forward, grabbing my wrist, his voice strained. "Hailey, are you insane? What nonsense are you talking about? Come back to me." I coldly shook off his hand. "Ethan Song, you are the insane one. I've seen enough of your charade with Hailey Mo." Ethan Song and Hailey Mo's faces turned as white as paper. Just then, Asher Chi's deep, resonant voice broke the suffocating silence. "Your condition I accept." He stood up, his tall figure eclipsing all the light behind him, casting a strangely reassuring shadow over me. He took off his suit jacket and draped it over my shoulders, covering the wedding dress that was originally meant for another groom. But he continued, his bottomless eyes fixed on me. I have one condition. What condition? I asked. He subtly curved his lips, a smile almost imperceptible. This contract is indefinite. It only ends when I say it ends. He leaned down, close to my ear, his voice just loud enough for the two of us to hear. Hailey Mo, once you're on Asher Chi's boat, don't even think about getting off. Then he took my hand. It wasn't Ethan Song's possessive, tight grip, but a steady, warm clasp. He led me straight out of the ballroom, leaving behind a bewildered Ethan Song, a trembling, terrified Hailey Mo, and a crowd of guests still reeling in shock. That night, I didn't return to the Mo family home. Asher Chi took me to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Under the dim yellow lights, 2 red marriage certificates were handed to us. It was surreal how fast it happened. I, Hailey Mo, had become Mrs. Chi. I had married a man I had only met a few times, all just to get revenge on a scoundrel. I didn't know if the road ahead was an abyss or paradise, but one thing I was certain of: my play had truly just begun. The next morning, I woke not to the familiar sound of my alarm, but to the brilliant sunlight streaming through the thin voile curtains. The unfamiliar room, minimalist in gray and white tones, was so spacious that my own voice echoed. This was Asher Chi's villa, my new home. A dull headache reminded me of yesterday's crazy events: the betrayal, the shocking proposal, and the still-warm marriage certificate in my purse. I had truly married a man who was almost a stranger. Stepping out of bed, my feet sank into the soft pile carpet. One wall of the room was a giant, doorless wardrobe. What surprised me was that it wasn't empty, but filled with countless designer clothes, dresses, handbags, and shoes, all in my size. Everything was neatly organized by color, like a high-end fashion boutique. Asher Chi, this man's efficiency was terrifying. In just one night, he had prepared all of this. When I went down to the dining room, he was already there, dressed in comfortable loungewear but still exuding a noble aura. He was reading financial news on a tablet, the rich aroma of coffee filling the air. Seeing me, he merely nodded, signaling to the housekeeper to serve breakfast. The meal passed in silence. This quiet wasn't suffocating, it was more like an unspoken agreement. We were both adults, there was no need for empty pleasantries. When I was nearly finished eating, he pushed a black card and a set of car keys across the table. "This is your supplementary card with no limit," he said, his voice calm and unruffled. "The cars are in the garage, feel free to choose. My assistant, Aiden, his number is saved in your new phone on the table. He'll assist you with everything you need. Consider this my investment in a good play." I looked at the powerful black card and the car keys. This was the difference between him and Ethan Song. Ethan Song gave me sweet promises while secretly plotting to seize my assets. Asher Chi promised nothing. He directly gave me weapons and ammunition. "Thank you, Mr. Chi," I said, accepting them without formality. "I won't let you down in this play." He subtly curved his lips, a fleeting smile. "That would be best." As I predicted, news of my broken engagement and my whirlwind marriage to Asher Chi became front-page headlines in every entertainment and business newspaper. My phone rang incessantly, but I ignored it. I knew they would soon come to my door, and they did. My father, Mr. Mo's familiar car, pulled up in front of the villa. He was with Hailey Mo, who wore a pitiful expression, her eyes red as if she'd been crying all night. I sat calmly on the sofa, sipping tea, and gestured for the butler to open the door. "Hailey, do you even have the nerve to sit there?" Mr. Mo roared as he entered, his face red with fury. "What kind of crazy stunt did you pull, breaking off the engagement with Ethan and then marrying some? Asher Chi, do you know you've made the Mo family a laughingstock for the whole city?" I set down my teacup and looked up at him, my voice strangely calm. "Father, I think you should choose your words carefully. The some person you just called is my legal husband, chairman of the Chi Group. Are you sure you want to offend him?" Mr. Mo froze. Perhaps he had never heard me speak to him in such a tone. Hailey Mo rushed over, grabbing my hand, sobbing. "Sister, I know you're angry with Ethan, but you can't ruin your whole life over a moment of anger. Come with me, let's go home and talk, then we can apologize to Ethan together." I pulled my hand away, looking straight into her fake eyes. "Hailey Mo, your acting is truly superb, but unfortunately your only audience is father. I'm no longer interested in watching. If you want to apologize to Ethan Song, go do it yourself. Don't drag me into it. Mr. Mo trembled with rage, raising his hand to slap me. But before his hand could descend, an icy voice rang out from the doorway. Mr. Mo, hitting someone in my house, isn't that a bit disrespectful to the host? Asher Chi had returned at some point. He walked in, handed his coat to the housekeeper, and calmly strode to my side. He didn't look at me, but naturally wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me into his embrace. A gesture full of possessiveness and protection. Mr. Mo's bluster immediately deflated like a punctured balloon. Facing Asher Chi, he dared not act so arrogant. Mr. Chi, you're back. This is our family matter. I'm just disciplining my disobedient daughter. Oh, Asher Chi raised an eyebrow. But Hailey is my wife now, a member of the Chi family. Shouldn't you ask for my opinion before disciplining her? He lowered his head, his deep eyes looking at me, but his words were directed at my father and Hailey Mo. My wife is still young, a bit stubborn. I hope Mr. Mo and Miss Mo will take good care of her in the future. Of course, if anyone dares to bully her, I, Asher Chi, will absolutely not stand idly by. Every word he spoke was gentle, yet carried 1,000 pounds of weight, pressing down on the nerves of the other two. Mr. Mo's face alternated between green and white, while Hailey Mo lowered her head in fear, not daring to look straight. Finally, they had to shamefully leave. When the door closed, Asher Chi finally released me. Not bad acting, he commented. Thank you for your cooperation, I replied. No need to thank me, he said, turning to go upstairs. I already told you this is an investment. I'm just protecting my assets. I watched his tall, straight back, a complex emotion rising within me, protecting his assets. Perhaps so, but in that moment when he stood before me, shielding me, I truly felt a sense of safety. I picked up my phone and dialed Aiden's number. Assistant Aiden, could you please investigate a project that the Song Group is currently bidding on for me? I need all the detailed information. The play had begun. Mrs. Chi had officially made her debut. Ethan's song, next would be my revenge. Assistant Aiden's efficiency was indeed impeccable. Less than 24 hours after my call, a thick, encrypted document landed in my email. It contained all the information about the Lamb River Eco-City project, which the Song Group was pouring all its efforts into winning. This was a key city project, a lucrative pie that any real estate company coveted. If Ethan's song secured it, his position in the business world would be solidified, and his plan to take over the Mo Group would be even more favorable. I had worked alongside Ethan's song for 3 years, participating in many large and small projects. I understood his working style better than anyone, ambitious, bold, but sometimes too overconfident and prone to overlooking small details. I spent an entire afternoon poring over the Song Group's detailed proposal. Sure enough, I found a fatal flaw. Ethan's song had proposed an extremely costly and unnecessary foundation treatment plan, merely to show off technical prowess and impress the investors. But he had forgotten one thing. An old geological survey report that he and I had once reviewed showed that the ground in that area could entirely use a more cost-effective method of reinforcement, saving up to 30% of costs while ensuring absolute safety. 30% of the costa number significant enough to make any investor rethink. A cold smile spread across my lips. Ethan's song, you taught me how to calculate every single detail. Today, I'll use that very lesson to give you a big gift. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. A charity gala organized by the City Entrepreneurs Association. The guest list included both Ethan's song and Mr. Zhang, the main investor of the Lamb River project. And of course, Asher Chi. When I told Asher Chi about attending the party, he merely glanced at me over the edge of his financial newspaper. Wanna go stir up some trouble? I smiled, choosing a sapphire blue evening gown from the wardrobe he had prepared. I'm going to collect a bit of interest. He said nothing more, just folded the newspaper, leaving in 5 minutes. That night, I walked into the ballroom arm-in-arm with Asher Chi, instantly becoming the center of attention. He was still the cold, arrogant Asher Chi, like an emperor. As for me, in the magnificent gown and sparkling diamond jewelry he had personally chosen, I was no longer the simple, inconspicuous Hailey Mo of before. I was Mrs. Chi. This title was like a golden armor, making no one dare to underestimate me. Ethan's song and Hailey Mo's eyes were fixed on us from afar. I could see the unconcealed astonishment, envy, and anger in Ethan's song's eyes. He probably never imagined that the woman he discarded could stand in a position he had to look up to. Hailey Mo stood beside him, clutching her wine glass tightly, her smile forced. I ignored them and, with Asher Chi, greeted a few business partners. Then, as if by a fortuitous arrangement, we met Mr. Zhang, who was chatting happily with a few others. "Mr. Chi, Mrs. Chi, it's an honor to meet you both here," Mr. Zhang warmly greeted. After a few pleasantries, I looked at Mr. Zhang and smiled innocently. "Mr. Zhang, I heard your company is investing in the Lamb River project, aren't you? I truly admire your vision. That area is indeed a golden piece of land." Mr. Zhang laughed heartily, clearly very pleased. "Mrs. Chi is too kind. We are also very committed to this project." "Indeed," I nodded, my expression full of sincerity. "It's just that I have a small question. I once read a geological report about that area and found the ground quite stable. I wonder why the bidding parties have to propose such complex and costly foundation treatment methods. If we could find a more optimal solution, saving a large sum of money to invest in landscaping and amenities for residents, how wonderful would that be?" I spoke very softly, as if casually, but each word was like a stone tossed into a calm lake. Mr. Zhang's expression subtly changed. He was a seasoned businessman. How could he not understand the implications behind my words? Just then, Ethan's song and Hailey Mo approached. He overheard my last sentence and his face immediately darkened. "Hailey, if you don't understand construction, don't talk nonsense. Safety is paramount." I turned to look at him, smiling brightly. "Mr. Song, I was just stating my curiosity. Or perhaps there's something in Mr. Song's proposal that he doesn't want others to know." Asher Chi had not said a word from beginning to end, merely standing silently beside me. But when Ethan's Song was about to say more, he subtly placed a hand on my waist, a gesture of absolute possession, and said to Mr. Zhang, "My wife just spoke casually. Mr. Zhang, please don't mind her. However, the Chi Group has recently been researching some new foundation treatment technologies, highly efficient and low cost. If Mr. Zhang is interested, perhaps we could discuss it further sometime." A gentle sentence, yet it was a finishing blow. The Chi Group was entering the fray. Asher Chi's words carried more weight than anyone else's here. Mr. Zhang's eyes immediately lit up, and he eagerly responded, "That would be wonderful. I'll definitely have to trouble Mr. Chi then." Ethan Song's face was beyond description. He glared at me, his eyes practically wanting to devour me whole. My play had been a complete success. On the way home, the luxurious car glided in silence. I looked out the window, admiring the city lights at night, a feeling of triumph spreading through my body. "Happy now?" Asher Chi's deep voice suddenly broke the quiet. I turned to look at him. Under the passing streetlights, his profile appeared even more chiseled and captivating. "Happy, thank you." "Mr. Chi, I already told you," he said, looking straight ahead. "I'm just protecting my investment." He paused, then continued, "But next time, if you want to hit someone, you don't need to borrow anyone's words. Just do it directly. I'll handle all the consequences." My heart skipped a beat. I looked at him, the man who was my husband in name, the man I still couldn't quite see through. He said he would handle it. Ethan's Song had told me, "I'll handle it," countless times, but never once delivered. Asher Chi, he made no promises, he simply guaranteed. I knew this was just the beginning. The battle with Ethan's Song was long, but for some reason, with Asher Chi by my side, I felt an unprecedented confidence. Perhaps this contract marriage was not just a game of revenge, but a game of destiny that I couldn't have foreseen. The result of my counterattack at the charity gala caused a sensation, just as I expected. Just 2 days later, news of the Song Group's failure in the Lamb River project bid spread throughout the business world. After consulting with the Chi Group, investor Mr. Zhang decided to choose a more feasible and cost-effective alternative. Song Group's stock immediately plummeted. Ethan Song's dream of soaring to the top vanished into thin air. He couldn't sit still. He arranged to meet me at a quiet coffee shop, a place where we once shared countless memories. Perhaps he thought the familiar setting would soften my heart. With him, of course, was Hailey Mo, her face displaying a pitiful expression as if she was only there out of concern for both of us. I arrived on time, wearing a simple yet elegant dress, my demeanor calm as an outsider watching a play. Seeing me, Ethan Song could no longer maintain his usual dignified facade. His eyes were bloodshot. "Hailey, are you satisfied?" he snarled, his voice full of resentment. "You ruined my passion project, destroyed the song group's reputation. Are you enjoying this? 7 years of our relationship, how could you treat me like this?" I gently stirred my coffee, not bothering to look at him. "Mr. Song, you're mistaken. I didn't destroy your project. You destroyed it yourself with your greed and arrogance. As for our 7 years of affection," I looked up, straight into his eyes, a mocking smile on my face. "Were those 7 years truly affection to you, or merely a long-term investment?" Hailey Mo quickly interjected, her voice choked with sobs. "Sister, how can you say that? Ethan truly loved you. It's just that emotions can't be controlled. He's also suffering greatly. Please don't push him to the brink, okay?" "To the brink?" I raised an eyebrow, shifting my attention to Hailey Mo. "My dear sister, do you know what truly being on the brink means?" I turned back to Ethan Song, my voice suddenly sharp. "Ethan Song, to secure enough capital for the Lamb River project, you secretly used 15% of the Mo Group shares that my father temporarily entrusted to your management as collateral for a high-interest loan from Trust Bank, didn't you?" Ethan Song and Hailey Mo's faces simultaneously went ashen. He looked at me as if I were a ghost. This was his biggest business secret, a risky gamble that could cost him everything. He couldn't believe I knew about it. How do you know?" Ethan Song stammered. "Have you forgotten? The chief accountant of the Song Group is Uncle Wang, the man who watched me grow up. He couldn't bear to see my mother's life's work gambled away so foolishly by you," I said, my voice icy. "Now the project is lost, that colossal debt is due soon. What do you plan to use to pay it back? Or do you intend to declare bankruptcy, dragging the entire Mo Group down with you?" Ethan Song completely collapsed. He slumped into his chair, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He had lost miserably. Just then, his phone rang. After answering, Ethan Song's already pale face now had not a drop of blood. He trembled as he looked at me, muttering, "Trust Bank was just acquired by the Chi Group. All the debts have been transferred." I subtly curved my lips. "Asher Chi, your speed is truly astonishing." Not only did he cut off Ethan Song's escape route, but he also directly became his creditor. Now, the fate of the Song Group lay completely in our hands. Looking at the pathetic state of the two people before me, I no longer felt triumphant, only disgusted. I stood up, adjusting my dress. "Ethan Song, the play ends here. For the rest, you may enjoy it yourself." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving them in utter despair. Returning to the villa, I felt utterly drained. Revenge brought satisfaction but also exhausted one's strength. The large house was silent. I thought Asher Chi hadn't returned, but when I entered the dining room, I saw him sitting there, not working but quietly waiting. On the table were not the usual elaborate dishes, but a steaming bowl of seafood porridge and a few light side dishes, the gentle aroma spreading, soothing my empty stomach and weary spirit. "You haven't eaten?" I asked, surprised. He didn't answer my question, only gestured with his chin towards the porridge bowl. "Eat it while it's hot." I sat down and picked up the spoon. The porridge was slow-cooked, the seafood fresh and delicious, the seasoning just right, a familiar taste that made me pause. This was the porridge from a small restaurant I really liked. I had only casually mentioned it once to assistant Aiden when he asked what I wanted to eat. I looked up at him, an indescribable emotion rising in my heart. "Did you tell Aiden to buy it?" "No," he replied, his voice still even. "I told the chef to go there and learn how to cook it." My heart skipped a beat again. He not only remembered my preference, but was also thoughtful enough to have someone learn the recipe, all because of a casual remark from me. This kind of indulgence wasn't empty words, nor expensive material gifts, but a subtle, silent care that permeated the smallest details of my life. "Thank you," I whispered, lowering my head to hide my slightly reddened eyes. "No need," he said, his tone still aloof as usual, but his eyes, as he looked at me, held a warmth I had never seen before. "Eat up and rest. The battle is long, you need your strength." I nodded, quietly finishing the bowl of porridge. The sweetness of the porridge blended with another kind of sweetness slowly budding in my heart. Perhaps this indefinite contract marriage wasn't a cage, but a safe haven I never expected. Ethan Song's downfall was swifter and more complete than I had imagined. With the Chi Group becoming his largest creditor, the Song Group was like a fish on a chopping block, only able to await Asher Chi's judgment. Ethan Song was forced to swallow his pride and go to the Chi Group, not as a partner, but as a supplicant begging for leniency. He wanted to negotiate an extension of the debt, and the person who met him, besides Asher Chi, was me. I sat on a luxurious leather sofa in the chairman's office, casually flipping through a fashion magazine, completely ignoring the presence of Ethan Song and Hailey Mo opposite me. The aura of Mrs. Chi I possessed came not only from designer clothes, but also from the confidence and power Asher Chi had bestowed upon me. "Mr. Chi," Ethan Song humbled himself, his voice pleading. "If you could just give the Song Group a little more time, I will definitely find a way." "Please," he begged. Asher Chi said nothing, merely glancing at me as if asking for my opinion. This small gesture was like an invisible, powerful slap to Ethan Song's face. He once treated me as property, now he had to watch me decide his fate. I put down the magazine and smiled at Ethan Song. "Mr. Song, for the Chi Group to extend the debt is not impossible, provided you agree to one condition." "What condition? Just name it, I'll agree to anything," he quickly replied. "Very simple," I said, my voice light as air. "You must use all the Song Group shares you currently own, plus the 15% Mo Group shares you've mortgaged, to transfer ownership to the Chi Group at market price. Consider it using assets to repay the debt. That way, you'll no longer be in debt and we'll recover our capital. A fair exchange." Ethan Song was stunned. This was tantamount to forcing him to sell all his assets, leaving him with nothing. But he had no other choice. If he didn't agree, the Chi Group only needed to declare a foreclosure, and the Song Group would immediately go bankrupt, leaving him with a colossal debt. Finally, under extreme pressure, Ethan Song had to sign the share transfer agreement. He left the Chi Group looking utterly distraught, while Hailey Mo glared at me with hateful eyes. I knew they wouldn't give up easily. That evening, as Asher Chi and I were having dinner, he received a phone call. His usual aloof expression changed slightly. After hanging up, he looked at me and said, "We're going to the Main family estate for dinner this weekend." My heart tightened. The Main family estate, of course, to meet grandfather. The Chi family, a powerful and mysterious clan, far more so than what the newspapers wrote. Especially grandfather Chi, the man who single-handedly built the Chi Group empire, a legendary figure in the business world. Meeting him would be even more nerve-wracking than facing an army. Seeing my apparent anxiety, Asher Chi added, "Don't be nervous, just be yourself." He pushed a tablet across the table to me. "This is information about my family members, including their preferences and taboos. Consider it reference material." His thoughtfulness once again moved me. He didn't just offer empty words, but always used actions to reassure me. That weekend, I chose a modernized jade green kippah, both elegant and modest, without losing its youthful charm. Asher Chi looked at me from head to toe, a rare glint of satisfaction in his eyes. The Chi family's villa was located in the suburbs, an ancient and stately manor. The atmosphere here was completely different from the modern luxury of Asher Chi's own villa. Everything exuded the quiet dignity of time and power. Grandfather Chi sat at the head of the table. Although his hair was white, his eyes were still incredibly keen and sharp. Beside him were Asher Chi's parents and a few aunts and uncles. All eyes were on me, scrutinizing, curious, and some even showing dissatisfaction. "Is this Hailey Mo?" A elegantly dressed middle-aged woman, likely Asher Chi's aunt, spoke first, her tones slightly sharp. "Heard she's from the Mo family. Asher, your taste has been quite peculiar lately. A young lady from a declining Mo family, how can she be worthy of the Mrs. Chi title?" The atmosphere in the dining room immediately became tense. I clenched my hands under the table, unsure how to respond. Just then, Asher Chi, who had remained silent, suddenly picked up a piece of fish, carefully removed the bones, and placed it in my bowl. He looked at his aunt, his voice calm but authoritative. "Aunt 3, my taste has always been the same. I only choose the person I like. Whether Hailey is worthy or not is for me to decide, not for outsiders to judge. He turned to look at me, his gaze unexpectedly gentle. Eat, don't mind her. The entire Chi family was stunned. They had probably never seen Asher Chi so gentle and protective of a woman. Grandfather Chi had silently observed from the start. He suddenly spoke, "Little girl, come here and play a game of Go with me." I was startled but calmly walked over. Go, this was a test. Throughout the game, he didn't ask me about my background, nor about my relationship with Asher Chi. He just silently played sharp moves, pushing me into difficult positions. I wasn't a master, but I had studied Go for many years. I calmly countered, defending tightly, occasionally making unexpected moves that broke his formation. Finally, the game ended in a draw. Grandfather Chi looked at me deeply, then let out a hearty laugh. Good, very good. Not arrogant, not self-deprecating, stable in character. Asher, you didn't choose the wrong person this time. Grandfather Chi's words were like an imperial decree, immediately silencing all whispers. The dinner after that proceeded in a much more harmonious atmosphere. On the way home, I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you for today. For what? He asked. For defending me, for preparing the documents, for everything. He said nothing, just focused on driving. But after a while, he suddenly said, Hailey, this marriage might not just be a contract anymore. My heart pounded wildly. What did he mean? As the car pulled up to the villa, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. I opened it. It was a picture. In the photo, Asher Chi was standing opposite an incredibly beautiful and elegant woman at a luxurious restaurant. They looked very intimate. My hand holding the phone trembled slightly. The warmth and trust that had just begun to sprout in my heart were suddenly doused by a bucket of cold water. The photo on my phone was like a cold chunk of ice, freezing all the warmth and budding feelings within me. The woman in the picture had a sharp, confident beauty, standing beside Asher Chi. They looked so perfectly matched. His words this marriage might not just be a contract anymore still echoed in my ears, but now they sounded terribly ironic. Was I merely a temporary choice, a convenient pawn in a larger game I knew nothing about? I didn't question him, nor did I cause a scene. I simply put my phone away silently. Indifference returned like a safe shell. Asher Chi was perceptive. He immediately noticed my change. What's wrong? He asked as we entered the house. Nothing, just a little tired, I replied, forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. He didn't ask further, just silently followed me upstairs to the room. That night, I used tiredness as an excuse to sleep in my own room. I had told myself this was just a transaction, and emotions were not allowed, but my heart refused to listen. For the first time since Ethan Song's betrayal, I felt the pain of jealousy and disappointment. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes. When I went downstairs, I saw Asher Chi sitting in the living room, not reading the newspaper or working, but seemingly waiting for me. His face was colder than ice, but in his eyes, a simmering fire burned. He handed me a tablet. On the screen was detailed information about the woman in the photo. Her name was Lin Lin, a world-renowned architect, also Asher Chi's childhood friend. The photo was taken when he was persuading her to return home to take on a key project for the Chi group. The sender of the photo was an unknown number, but the person behind it had been traced. Hailey Mo, his voice deepened. I was stunned, so this was their revenge. Unable to defeat me in business, they turned to sow discord in my relationship. A dirty trick, but it hit my weakest point at that moment. I didn't know what to say. You don't need to completely trust me, Asher Chi interrupted, his eyes fixed on me, deep and sincere. But Hailey, you need to know one thing, the person I chose from beginning to end is only you. Just then, Assistant Aiden rushed in, looking frantic. Mr. Chi, bad news, Ethan Song has kidnapped Miss Mo. My heart almost stopped. Hailey Mo? Why Hailey Mo? He just called and said if you want Miss Mo safe, Mrs. Chi must come alone with the original share transfer contract to the abandoned warehouse in the suburbs. I immediately understood. This was a trap. Ethan Song hadn't kidnapped Hailey Mo at all. They were putting on a show, a bitter ploy to lure me there, steal back the contract, and perhaps take revenge on me. He was desperate and had gone mad. You're not going, Asher Chi said immediately, his voice sharp with menace. This is clearly a trap. But I hesitated. As annoying as Hailey Mo was, she was still my sister, no matter what. He stood up, putting on his suit jacket, his aura imposing. "Stay put, I'll handle everything." He didn't give me a chance to protest, quickly leaving with assistant Aiden and a team of bodyguards. I paced back and forth at home, my heart ablaze with anxiety. I trusted Asher Chi, but I couldn't sit idly by. I called Uncle Wang, the Song Group's chief accountant, the only person I could trust at that moment. I asked him for a favor. 2 hours later, Asher Chi returned, safe and sound. "Ethan Song and Hailey Mo have been arrested by the police," he said, his voice calm again. "They not only staged a kidnapping, but were also found to be possessing drugs in the warehouse. Perhaps losing so much in business drove them to illegal paths." I breathed a sigh of relief. "So, it's over." "Not yet." He walked over and pulled me into a tight embrace, as if afraid I would disappear. "Hailey, I'm sorry for letting you be scared." I shook my head, burying my face in his warm chest. "I should be thanking you." "You don't need to thank me," he said, his voice hoarse. "I just need you to know that from the day you stood before me, asking if I needed a wife, I knew I couldn't escape anymore. The so-called indefinite contract was just an excuse for me to keep you by my side. Hailey, I love you." Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Tears of release, of overflowing happiness. I had married a CEO to get revenge on a scumbag, never expecting to be so cherished by him. I had gone full circle, enduring hurt and betrayal, only to finally find the most peaceful haven of my life. Months later, Ethan Song and Hailey Mo faced the consequences of their crimes, disappearing completely from my life. The Mo group, with the Chi group's help, gradually stabilized. One beautiful evening, Asher Chi and I were strolling on the beach during our vacation. I leaned my head on his shoulder and said, "Mr. Chi, shouldn't we review the terms of our contract?" He stopped and looked at me, his eyes full of amusement. He took a lighter from his pocket, then pulled out a neatly folded piece of paper. It was our marriage contract. To my surprise, he flicked the lighter, setting the paper ablaze. The flames flared, devouring the cold terms, turning them into ashes that scattered with the sea breeze. "The contract has expired," he said, then knelt on one knee before me, pulling out a sparkling diamond ring. "Hailey, will you agree to sign a new contract with me? A lifetime contract. To use this entire life to love and cherish you. Will you marry me?" I burst into tears of happiness, nodding frantically. He placed the ring on my finger, stood up, and gave me a deep kiss. Under the brilliant sunset, I knew that the biggest gamble of my life had won. I had not only avenged myself against those who hurt me, but also found a man who loved me more than his own life. Asher Chi's side story. For me, Asher Chi social gatherings like this were just a tedious part of work. The music, the fake congratulations, the meticulously calculated smiles, all of it was meaningless. I attended Ethan Song's engagement party merely out of respect for a few business partners, planning to stay for 15 minutes and then leave. My world was originally made of numbers, strategies, and relentless business battles. Love, marriage, those things were never part of the plan. I sat in a corner, separated from the noisy crowd. My gaze swept over Ethan Song, who was smugly greeting guests. An ambitious man, but with limited vision, sooner or later, he would destroy himself. And then I saw her. Hailey Mo. I had known about her before, not through social events, but through investigative reports on competitors. She was Mr. Mo's daughter, Ethan Song's fiancé. The holder of 20% of the Mo group shares the very thing Ethan Song craved most. In the photos I had seen, she always stood behind Ethan Song, quiet, faded, her smile tinged with resignation. A beautiful canary trapped in a cage. But today, she was different. When she emerged from the lounge, I immediately noticed the change. The smile was still on her lips, but in her clear eyes there was no longer gentleness, but a cold emptiness. She stood there in the opulent ballroom, alone and lost, like a snowflake about to melt in summer. She knew, I guessed as much. Ethan Song and his sister, Hailey Mo, their play, she had seen it. I had expected her to cry, to make a scene, to expose the true faces of that adulterous pair. That was the typical reaction of most women. But she didn't do that. She just stood there, and then suddenly she started walking not towards Ethan Song, but straight towards me. The entire ballroom seemed to hold its breath, all eyes fixed on the small woman bravely approaching the territory of the beast that was me. Her eyes looked straight into mine, without fear, only the fierce determination of someone pushed to the brink, deciding to gamble everything. "Mr. Chi, do you need a wife?" A crazy question, an absurd offer. But in that moment, my black and white world suddenly gained a vibrant streak of color. She wasn't a canary, she was a wounded phoenix, striving to be reborn from the ashes. I watched Ethan Song, stunned. I watched Hailey Mo her move. She wanted to use me for revenge, wanted to use the title of Mrs. Chi to deliver a fatal blow to the one who betrayed her. How clever, how interesting. A contract marriage, a term of 1 year. She stated her conditions clearly, distinctly. She didn't want pity. She wanted a fair transaction. For the first time, a woman approached me not for my wealth or power, but simply to borrow my name. Ethan Song rushed forward, trying to pull her back. "Hailey, are you insane?" The indignation in his voice wasn't due to love, but because his prey, almost in his grasp, had suddenly grown wings and flown away. He had never truly valued her. And in that very moment, I made my decision. "Your condition, I accept." I stood up, draping my suit jacket over her shoulders. Her small frame trembled slightly, but she didn't flinch. She had chosen me, and I would not let her down. "But I have one condition." I leaned close to her ear, catching the faint, pure scent of her hair. "This contract is indefinite. It only ends when I say it ends." I didn't know why I said that. Perhaps it was the possessive instinct of a superior. Or perhaps, deep down, I didn't want this interesting transaction to end after just 1 year. I wanted to see how high, how far this wounded phoenix would fly. I took her hand, feeling the coldness and trembling in her palm. I led her away, leaving behind a world of pretense. That night, when the 2 red certificates were handed to us, I looked at the woman who had become my wife in name. In my heart, there was no victor's triumph, but a strange new feeling. "Hailey Mo, welcome to my world. This play, I will act with you until the very end."